The Lord be with you. The coronavirus has shut down St. Andrew's for the time being, but you're not going to escape a sermon. Today is the fourth Sunday in Lent. It is also Mothering Sunday. Sit back and relax, here it comes. Mothering Sunday began in the 16th century with no connection to mothers at all. The word mothering referred to the mother church, the main church or cathedral of the region. It became a tradition that on the fourth Sunday of Lent, people would return to their mother church for a special service of thanksgiving. This pilgrimage was apparently known as going a mothering and became something of a holiday event, with domestic servants traditionally given the day off to visit their own families as well as their mother church. But today I'd like us to think about Hannah, a woman of faith whose enduring love of God and trust in Him had far-reaching consequences well beyond her day. Many of you will remember that the Beatles were turned down by the Decca Recording Company, which famously said, "We don't like their sound and guitar music is on the way out." Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper because he supposedly lacked imagination and had no original ideas. Dr. Seuss was rejected 27 times with responses such as this is too different from other juvenile books on the market to warrant us attempting to sell them. The Beatles, Dr. Seuss, Walt Disney were not put off, they persevered. And Hannah, we encounter her first of all as a woman of sorrow. She seemed to be infertile. Nevertheless, she remained faithful. She never gave up hope that God would hear her prayer and permit her to fall pregnant. And the wonderful thing is, she didn't selfishly then cling to her gift of a little boy, little Samuel. There was no smother's love in her life. She dedicated Samuel to the Lord and said, "I'm going to give him back to you, and he will serve you all the days of his life." Now for years, Peninnah, who was Hannah's husband Elkanah's other wife, was spiteful to Hannah and nasty to her because she was apparently infertile. But instead of responding to her tormentor, Hannah kept her mouth shut. She kept her focus on God. During one of the annual trips to the tabernacle where she and her family went, Hannah had had enough. But she didn't lash out at Peninnah. And her character was tested because she prayed so fervently. Old Eli, who was in charge of the tabernacle, accused her of being drunk. Once again, Hannah demonstrated her grace and humility. And when she had explained herself to Eli, his heart softened her, and God told him to tell Hannah she would fall pregnant. And in fact, our God is a very generous God, because after she gave birth to Samuel, she gave birth to 3 more sons and 2 daughters. So God blessed her abundantly. The adult Samuel, you see, played a key transitional role in the history of Israel. He was the last of the judges of Israel, and is considered to be first in the line of prophets similar to Moses. And God directed him to anoint Israel's first two kings, Saul and David, and it ushered in a new era in the nation's history. Because remember, in Israel, God is the king. And once you understand that, you'll understand the whole of the Old Testament. God was the king. The human kings were regents who ruled on God's behalf. The Israelites were forever under attack by their enemies, in particular now I've lost my place. Anyway, I keep wanting to say the Saracens. It's not the Saracens. But the Philistines. And God used the Philistines to thrash them into shape, because unlike Hannah, the Israelites repeatedly turned away from God. So Samuel said to the people, "If you return to the Lord with all your hearts, and put away the foreign gods and the Ashtoreths," she was a Canaanite goddess, "and prepare your hearts for the Lord and serve him only, he will deliver you from the hand of the Philistines." Only then would God secure their land and give them protection from their enemies. And they actually listened to Samuel. And they fasted and repented of their sins. And he prayed on behalf of all the people. And God gave them a wonderful victory over their enemies because of their faithfulness. Samuel labored throughout his life for the welfare of the people and served as Israel's last judge before the people asked for a monarchy. We want to have a king like all the other peoples in the area. Eventually, order was established, godliness was promoted, and the nation was at peace and prospered. We read, "The Philistines were subdued, and they did not come any more into the territory of Israel. And the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel, who was given to a faithful mother, because she trusted in the Lord and believed him when he said he would grant her a child." Then the cities which the Philistines had taken from Israel were restored to Israel, from Ekron to Gath, and Israel recovered its territory from the hands of the Philistines. Also there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. All this because a faithful mother prayed without ceasing, trusting in God to hear her prayer. She never gave up. So we thank God for our mothers and all other faithful women who have inspired us in our Christian faith. At this time, let us also trust God to protect and heal in a time of pestilence. Hannah, the faithful woman, never stopped trusting in the power of God to grant her heart's wish. And God had a plan for Hannah, and that plan was called Samuel, and he changed the fate of an entire nation. Amen.